There's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true.
Even the lies?
Especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government
And the Promenade Merchants Association,
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Welcome back to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. We are back this week to talk about the episode The Wire. I am Blake, and with me is...
Jessi.
Christopher.
Emily.
Mike.
Prentice.
Nicole.
Chris.
For those of you who are not familiar with our show and are just joining us for the first time, we usually start out with a synopsis of the episode, get some first impressions, and then move into discussion about the episode before we throw our first-time viewers out the nearest airlock, and then we talk about all of their questions, predictions, occasionally make fun of their commentary or lack thereof. You never know what we're going to talk about. I swear, if you ever listen to our Grey 17 show, if Jessi goes back and listens to any of the Beyond the Rim segments, and I disappear under mysterious circumstances, just know that Jessi did it, because that is going to be the most likely outcome if she ever goes and listens to those Beyond the Rim segments. So definitely stick around for those.
We have two newbies on here, so keep it up. There's three of us. I think we could really take you out.
You've threatened for years, though, and I'm still here. One of these days, I'm going to hold you to it, Jessi. So, Christopher, you were very anxious with a synopsis on this week's episode. So I am anxious to hear what you have come up with, considering some of your other Garak and Bashir, which, by the way, when we say Bashir, if you're listening to this episode, our special friend that likes to comment on our enunciations, go fuck yourself and listen to another podcast. Christopher, how about your synopsis?
Tired of going to the same three places on their dates, of Bashir being too open in their relationship, and Bashir criticizing the cultural masterpiece of his civilization, Garak feigns a headache, but it turns out to be crippling drug addiction.
Yes. That was good, Chris.
It's Cardassian heroin, don't worry.
Space heroin.
Space heroin. And yes, for those of our cast that look confused, we had an individual decide to comment on our Spotify reviews about the pronunciation of Dr. Bashir's last name. And irony of ironies, when they made this comment, they referred to him as Juliana Bashir. So I did point out that perhaps before addressing people's enunciations, they should correct their spelling.
Oh, this is my friend, huh?
This is your friend.
Yeah,
this is the same one that thinks very highly of Jessi on the cast. Hey, we said we would read the reviews. We never said we wouldn't make fun of your reviews.
Yeah, we're going to make fun of your review and of you. So just keep that in mind before you leave them.
I got to hit Memory Alpha real quick and make sure that his full extended canon name isn't actually Juliana or something. That'd be real embarrassing. Nope, we're good.
Well,
okay.
He is a man, and I don't think he'll be called Juliana.
Yeah.
Well, his middle name is odd.
Yeah.
It's the future. It could be anything.
That's true.
So let's go ahead and get some first impressions from our newbies now that we have went through our review section of the show. And let's start with Chris.
So, yeah, he was definitely cracked out in this episode. As I was watching it, I thought the medical mysteries, the heroin addiction, space heroin addiction, or whatever was going to be the focal point. But I kind of felt like the undertones of Big Brother really stepped to the forefront by the end of the episode. I was a little upset to see that my guy, Odo, was engaging in some Big Brother activity, illegally monitoring Quark's communications. off the station, even though it was very, very good reason. But yeah, I felt like there was a lot of parallels or metaphors to Big Brother, state oversight, and that kind of stuff. Overall, I thought it was an okay episode. I think the best part was probably especially the lies drop at the end. But outside of that, yeah, I thought it was okay.
Ah, yes, we finally get to the episode that has our opening commentary and the name of the show. Nicole, how about your first impressions?
Yeah, I screeched at the end when he said, especially the lies. I was like, oh, we finally figured it out and got it. That was really exciting. But yeah, overall, I thought this was an interesting episode. I actually had to watch it again because I watched it a while back and I had to watch it again because I felt like I was a little confused throughout it. Probably because Garak talks out of his ass so much and makes up so much bullshit that you can't keep his story straight. So it's like, wait, what? Wait, what? But overall, I did like seeing the side of Bashir that was very empathetic, caregiver, taking care of Garak, even though Garak was like hopped up and shooting himself in the neck with drugs and ready to give up and throw in the towel. And Bashir never kind of gave up on him. I mean, obviously, it's a doctor's oath. You have to keep your patient alive, but it was just a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like caring and like nurturing side of Bashir that we got to see, which I thought was kind of nice because usually he's kind of a fuckboy. So it was nice to see like a different side of him. And when he went to Cardassia to get more information to kind of help save Garak's life, learning that Elam Garak was his first name and that guy basically saying, yeah, I'll give you the info so he can live a miserable long life. Like that was fucking crazy. So it just kind of doubled down that the Cardassians are evil bastards. But it was interesting to kind of learn a little bit more about Garak when you finally figured it out at the end, and if that was even the case. So yeah, overall, not my favorite, but not a bad episode.
Talking out our ass and making shit up could more or less also be the summary of this show, I think.
Yeah, but we keep track of our own lies.
Yeah, sometimes.
Do we?
Do we really? Jessi, how about your first impressions?
First impressions. I enjoyed this episode. Like Nicole, I was mostly confused because I'm a twit and don't know good program when it hits me. So I'm not 100%. I didn't really know what was going on at first. Like I watched the whole thing and when he was like, especially the lies, I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like that's stupid. And then I was like, all right, sit with it. Give yourself a second. And I went back and watched it again and I was like, now I want to know what the lies were and what the lies weren't. And it made a lot more sense to me because when he was lying, he was telling the truth opposite. He was lying. Fuck, fake news. I don't know. Like he was like when he was pissed, he was telling the truth. And when he was doped up again with the space heroin or whatever painkillers that replaced them, he was nice again. And it was much clearer the second time around. And I enjoyed the plot. I enjoyed the whole episode watching Puppy Doctor in his puppy doctor ways. Like he's just such a, and I wish you guys could see my face when I said that. He's definitely a puppy doctor. Like Shannon hit it on the head with that one. So I enjoyed it.
Christopher.
I thought this was a fantastic episode. Bashir and Garak have an undeniable chemistry. And with this episode being so focused on the two of them, it had to work. They have to have that chemistry for this episode to work. And they do, and it did. For me, this might be like the second best episode of the series so far, behind Duet. So I loved this episode. It gave very 1984 vibes, as has been mentioned. And I just would like to say, hi, Reverend Ann, I saw you again.
Huh?
The nurse is played by Anne Gillespie, who is now an Episcopal priest and baptized my son.
Gotcha.
No shit. It's crazy.
Normally, as a guest star, I would say if they ever want to come on the show, they're welcome. But I'm going to go on a limb here and say the last thing we want on this show is going to be a fucking priest.
I think
it actually might be something to bring up because there's a heavy religious element in this series. And the way that Star Trek in and of itself treats religion, she might have some interesting takes.
There is. I just don't need holy water thrown at me through the screen.
I'll sit that one out. You guys can have a very nice interview and I will just watch it later.
God, she was also in 90210.
Yeah, she was the mom.
Yeah.
Oh, was she? Oh.
Wait, Brandon and Brenda's mom, or Kelly's
I'm
mom?
not sure whose mom.
Oh,
I know
Chris's
she was
mom.
like the alcoholic.
Christopher's
think-
mom.
Like
I
her
think that
character
was
was an
Chris's
alcoholic.
mother.
I'd say half
Kelly
the
or-
show was.
Kelly or Dylan's mom, then maybe. I
Jackie
must know.
Taylor was the character name.
Oh, Kelly's mom. I knew
Kelly's
it.
mom. Yep.
I knew it. Oh shit! Get her
Oh.
on the podcast. I want to ask her about
Yes.
90210.
Well, Jesse's back in for that episode, and we'll have to mute Nicole for half of it.
I'll just
That's
watch.
hilarious.
I won't say anything.
Just like to watch, huh?
Yeah, giggity,
What
giggity,
is that
Mike.
called? Voyeurism?
Giggity.
I'm a cuck. It's fine. Wait, is that just a guy? Moving on.
So yes,
Anyway,
Chris,
bring
if
that
you want to
Reverend
invite
Gun in here.
bring her on.
So,
It'll be a special Easter episode. I love it. That's a great idea.
That's why I have to sit out.
so let's steer this thing back to the show
No.
before we keep going much further there. And considering this episode and the two that are in it, let's go to our resident expert for smut and relationships, Emily.
I love this episode. I think it highlights Bashir in a much better light. I think it shows a better side of his acting skills because I think so far some of the writing hasn't been the best for him. And as far as Garak's character, he does a phenomenal job. Like, I question how much of that was acting and how much of he was actually just venting some decades of pent-up rage in some of those scenes. I love it. I think it's incredible. It does give us some background into Cardassia and their culture, shall we say, and obedience to the state. When Bashir was criticizing the literature and Garak says duty to the state is super important. Like, what else would you do? And we get to meet Anabrantane, who is like, they make him out to be like this super evil guy, right? Like, oh, he's the head of the Obsidian Order, and even Odo's like, oh shit, and even Quark's like, oh fuck. And you see him and you're like, he's just kind of like this old dude. Creepy, but he doesn't give off that true badass vibe. So
Face Mr. Rogers.
He was the Cardassian J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah.
That's
Little
what I'm
bit.
saying. I agree with that. Like, anybody work for these intelligence agencies, they're not the big bad. They're old men that plot and scheme, and they're deadly with their connections. They're never
Yep.
going to be twirling their mustache and look like the villain.
Yeah, so I think that reveal is a little bit interesting because of the way the Obsidian Order and Anabrantane are kind of hyped up throughout it, and then you're like, oh, it's just like some old dude who has way too much information on people. It's creepy.
Mhm.
Someone should probably check his browser history.
Wow.
Or not.
What were you
He's
saying?
probably got some voyeurism going on if he needs all that
Found your
information on
hard drive.
people.
So, Prentice, let's get your first impressions.
Love the episodes. One of my favorite episodes because it's a bit of world building. You find out more about Garrett's background. And as I looked at the discussion between Bashir and Garrett, it's almost to me representative of the writers making a critique of Star Trek as a whole when they're talking about the Federation. The Federation this and Federation that. Like it's like a insider's joke that the writers are saying, we know this is typically the ideals of the Star Trek shows that have come before. Bashir is the do-gooder and all that, but we want to critique that. And through Garrett, we're showing the nuance of the Star Trek universe, that everything is not always as black and white. So I appreciate the character of Garrett being there to highlight the tension that this is not your regular Star Trek. This is not black and white. There's shades of gray. And even through that discussion, he's lying. He's generating, even on his deathbed, layers of lies and innuendo to keep people guessing about his true motivation. And it takes a certain kind of actor to really give that credibility. And Andrew Robinson did a great job of portraying it in this episode. So for me, this is the best episode of the season for me. Another highlight of the episode I love is the scene where we see Garrett trying to find the item needed for the chip in his head. And talking to the Cardassian, the guy's like, Garrett, what did you do? You gave me this number. I'm under investigation. What's happening? The look on Garrett's face like, dude, I'm sorry. I had nothing to do. I didn't know. I'm going to sign off this communication. That was hilarious. And also weird looking at Odo admiring the
Obsidian Order. So you can't help but admire their efficiency. So listening to Garrett and his sense of justice, or is it just order? And that's something we're going to probably see more of maybe in the future, but it was revealing just to get that insight about Odo, again, about his love for order and kind of ruthless efficiency. So for me, great episode.
Mike.
At this point am happy that like everybody hopped in here and at least like nobody came out of the gate saying they hated this, because I agree. I think this is one of my favorite episodes. I mean, maybe of the whole series, honestly, but definitely one of the best ones we've seen to date. And a good part of that is because it is carried by the chemistry on screen between Bashir and Garak. And a big part of the strength in this is the fact that those two characters alone basically carry the entire episode. There's a single plot. Like there's no weird B plot really, besides maybe a little segue with, as you pointed out, like Odo or with Quark. And it's great. Garak is one of my favorite characters in the whole show. I know one of Scott's favorite characters too. So I'm happy that we're all kind of on that same page and recognizing the realness of it. But besides that chemistry, I definitely appreciate, I think Prentice, you picked up on it, and I'm happy you said it already too. Like, this is such a good world building episode. This is like the second, well, if you count Maquis as two parts, as the third episode in a row where we've gotten like really heavy handed like world building as far as Cardassians go and Cardassian culture. And then it's also that outsiders look at what the Federation is and how their ideals line up, how their ideals aren't shared by everybody else. I think that was a really important moment that would have gotten overlooked. So I'm glad you hit on that. But yeah, this is a 10 out of 10.
I agree that this is one of the stronger episodes, if not one of the strongest so far that we've seen out of season 2. And I love the dynamic in this between Bashir and Garak. And in a few ways, for those that saw Babylon 5, I kind of was thinking at a few points, there was that episode where they had Jakar and Londo stuck in the elevator together. And it was just those two in that confined space carrying a lot of that episode. And to me, this is very reminiscent of that, where you've got Cedigo Fidel and Andy Robinson really carrying this episode with their dynamic and their interactions with it. And I think Andy Robinson's probably one of the more underrated actors in this show. I think his portrayal of Garak has been phenomenal, and how he does that, especially when some of the interviews with him, they asked him if he's good at lying in real life, because the way he pulls off Garak is you just don't know when he's telling you the truth. I mean, there's some characters you watch, like, okay, that motherfucker's lying. Nicole, you call it your shady count all the time, but with Garak, you can't ever quite figure out what the hell he's actually saying is true, not true, or what he wants you to think out of it. And the way he's portrayed, especially in this episode, I think is just absolutely phenomenal, with the acting in this one and the writing in this one. Another note just on the Obsidian Order piece is they actually planned at one point to call it the Gray Order, but there was this other pesky sci-fi show that was right around season 2 and introducing something called the Gray Council. And there was already enough issues of plagiarism accusations between these two shows. So it ended up becoming the Obsidian Order for the Cardassians rather than the Gray Order. So I think it's just kind of interesting, again, the little crossover points where these two shows keep interacting and impacting each other throughout the storyline. So before we move into our full discussion, Emily, you've got a question you want to ask the newbies.
I do. So Garak tells Bashir a few stories. Before you find out that he is Elam, what, if any, bits did you think were true? Because the stories were pretty convoluted, a little chaotic, but was there any bit of it that you thought was true before you found out? And did it change after you found out?
Jessi.
I definitely, so there's multiple parts, like there's different like scenes, right? And I went back to about like minute 18-ish of the episode, where the initial, you need to know who I am to deal with me, or whatever he said. When he said that he blew up the ship or killed everybody, initially I was like, that makes sense. But then he came out with the second version. I still didn't know that, is it Elam?
Elam.
Elam. I still didn't know that Elam was him. I honestly thought that they were two people until the end. But I believed that part of the story where he let him go and that he had like empathy and compassion for these kids. And that to me, is clearly a weakness for the Cardassians, I believe. And so I definitely believed that that's why they would exile him. After I heard the second story, I didn't believe that it was because one of the kids was somebody special to one of the higher ups. I believe that that would absolutely be a reason for them to exile it, because they would want that person, that child killed. So the second version of his story, I believed. But then when you watched him say, he thinks I'm part of the order, and it's like, do you even remember the things that you were saying when you were on your detox? Like, clearly you don't remember. So that was the part of it that I bought. And then at the end, I mean, I didn't know really what to believe. I still believe, though, that he let them go.
Nicole.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I really don't know what was real or wasn't, but I do think he was the one that let those kids go because he said, I was cold and I was hungry and I just wanted it to be over with. He even gave him a latinum and let him go.
Yep.
And the fact that they were children, I don't know if this is an accurate statement, but I feel like Garak is a little less scummy than the other Cardassians. So I could see him maybe letting kids go. But also, he even said it wasn't I was letting them go because I felt for them because they were kids. I was inconvenienced, so I let them go because I
Yeah.
wanted this to end. That made more sense to me than him having compassion for children. So now everything else, I'm still kind of confused and I don't know what to believe. But yeah, I also agree. I think he did let the kids go, and that's why he was banished and exiled, and that's why they all hate him.
For me, I believe everything and nothing, right? The truth is somewhere in the middle. That's what I took out of this episode with Garak is he's going to tell you something. It may be true, it may not be true, it may have elements of the truth, and you just kind of have to weave your way through and figure out what is true and what isn't. And I always see that whatever he says, if you can find that middle zone, that's what the truth is. So, no, I didn't really believe much of it, but I believed all of it.
Especially the last.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think too with Garrick, he even said, well, everyone thinks I'm a spy. Well, yeah, because you fucking talk out of your ass left and right. Nobody knows what to believe, and you're always full of shit. So, of course, nobody's going to trust you. And they think that you're working for the Cardassians and you're a spy because you're not honest about anything. You're just spitting bullshit and spitting game, but nobody knows what's real and what isn't. So, of course, people's shady radars are up and think you're a spy.
What about Chris?
It's almost like with Prentice, we went to school with some people who you had to read between the lines to try to get the truth because everything that came out of their mouth was a lie. So I kind of approached it the same way. Whatever Garak said, I just register as, just register it. Okay, this is what he said. I don't put any value in it though, right? Because either one or two things will happen. One, he'll contradict himself or he'll do something that contradicts his words. Or two, something will be revealed that'll prove what he said is true, right? So just all the different stories he was telling, it's like, okay, it's an interesting story. Just register it and you just don't put any faith in it, don't put any stock in it until you actually get a clearer understanding of everything. And I think that clearer understanding came when Bashir went to go see J. Edgar Hoover in his crib. It was like, oh, so he's Elam, right? That's his first name. So everything this motherfucker was saying is probably a lie. Or it was the truth twisted to fit a narrative so he can manipulate me into believing a certain thing, which again, you might as well throw all that out too, right? I'm not going to trust any of that either. So yeah, that's kind of how I was approaching Garak and how he was talking, his stories. And I don't know, I don't trust anything he says. When it clicked for me in the episode where he accompanied, was it O'Brien to Bajor, and he was able to hack the computer system in like 2 seconds. And I'm like, okay, so not only is this dude leading people to believe he's something that he's not, but he's got a high level of proficiency in some crazy spy espionage, covert operation type shit. Oh no, he can't be trusted at all. Ever since then, I'm like, I can't trust anything he says.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I will say one of the commentaries on this one, and just to add some context before we jump into discussion, is Ira Steven Behr is kind of stepping into showrunner at this point, took a lot of inspiration. This is right around the time the movie Schindler's List came out. And from the discussion with Robert Hewitt Wolf, who was the writer for the episode, it was maybe Garak is Schindler, Maybe he's the guy who lets the prisoners go, or he could be the Butcher of Budapest. Who the hell knows? The truth might be in there somewhere. So that was some of the inspiration around the time that this episode was being written. Mike.
Yeah, so I guess just to add to this conversation, because I think it's relevant, and y'all are going to have to help me out here, because I forgot specifically who said the line, but it's basically revealed by somebody that Garak's philosophy, maybe the philosophy of a lot of Cardassians, is why tell the truth when a lie will suffice?
Yes.
How do you think that
It was a Nobran Tane.
That's what I thought. I thought it
Mhm.
was Tane speaking about Garak. How do you think that kind of plays into this narrative of him lying all the time? Like my personal take on it is that Garak tells you what he needs you to hear to get his point across or his truth across, but the details of it are always going to be like looking at a silhouette with no details filled in at all. Like he's telling you what he needs you to hear, and that's it.
And I've got the full line pulled up here, so I'll just
please
for our, is I can see that Garak hasn't changed a bit. Never tell the truth when a lie will do. That man has a rare gift for obfuscation.
It's a big word. What does that last word mean?
What was that, Jessi?
What was that last word? What does that last word mean?
Obfuscation means making something deliberately overly complicated.
Misdirect.
So Blake.
Wow.
I'm just going to make it noted, Jessi, you asked to have the word mansplained to you, so...
I don't, listen, I'm a twit. I don't know things. I use little simple words. Leave me alone. I don't have to use big words to get my point across. People? Okay, go ahead.
You're the one with your hand up. You
okay, well, I didn't know if we were ready. Shit, you got to prepare yourself for this. Sorry, I'm making it overly complicated for no reason whatsoever.
Yet you don't know obfuscation.
Obfuscation? Yep. Don't know that. Probably will never use it again. Okay, so I guess like Chris said it, like he went to school with people that would just lie. And like you guys can name drop because we can start some drama if you want to, but I won't know any of these people. I just like to watch. Again, I'm a voyeur.
Wow.
But like if you meet these people, I tend to deal with this a lot in my day-to-day. And sometimes I don't know if some of these people even know what the truth is. Like Garak is clearly he's intelligent. So he's probably not one of these people that just doesn't know, he just lies to lie. But like you meet those people that just open their mouth. And I have asked people like, do you even know what the truth is at this point? Or you just like, you've lied so much that you don't even remember. Pathological, right? Like they just lie to lie. So I definitely think the Cardassian way, and I could be so wrong, but from what I've seen, it's just basically to make life difficult for others and to keep moving. Like they are going to do what they need to do to keep themselves ahead. And that to me is what Garak's MO is like, he's going to do what he needs to do. And did Mike just say it? This is how short term my memory is about he's going to say it to get his point across and whatever he needs to do. And the details don't matter. That's what, to me, that's what it is. He'll say what he needs to say, basically for me to get himself out of somebody's face. Like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. So here's what I'm going to say. And half of it is bullshit. A third of it is also bullshit. And there might be like 2%. Yeah. Good talk, Jessi. I'm so glad I could add to this conversation.
Thank you for joining Jessi's TED Talk.
Come to my TED Talk, people.
That's real, though, because it is a form of pathological lying, I think. If that's how you operate on a daily basis, if that's how you base your social interactions with people constantly, I'm going to tell you only as much as I think you need to know and only as much as I have to in order to convey my truth, quote unquote. Whenever I hear people say, well, this is my truth, I don't give a fuck what your truth is. What is the truth?
What's the actual
right?
truth? Right.
But yeah, like it's manipulative. It's very it's clandestine. It's not a truthful existence. And so I get, but that's him, right? Like that's who he is. That's who he was when he was still, before he was exiled. That's who he is going to be until the day he dies, because that's just his nature. So I totally understand that. I don't rock with it. Like I can't get down with anybody who operates like that. But again, I think if you're on the station, right? If I'm Bashir or if I'm Cisco or if I'm any of these other people, I think you don't want to just outright stiff arm him and say, fuck out of here, because he can be useful. to a certain degree, right? And so you want to kind of keep them at an arm's length. So if you need to, you can tap him on the shoulder, hopefully get some help, or reap some benefit from his talent set that he has. But at the same time, arm's length, in that case, if he tries to get too close, you can push him away real easy.
Oh, I can't wait till we get the feedback on that one. We get the ones that say we're too woke, and then we make comments on people and their truths. That's I can't wait till we get the feedback on this. It's gonna be fantastic.
People, look, I'll never tell people they can't feel. Like I tell my kids all the time, you have a right to feel however you want to feel, and you have a right to express how you feel. Please do not ever feel or do not ever think you cannot express how you feel, what you're going through, what you're thinking, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, just because that's how you feel, it doesn't mean that's the truth. It doesn't mean it's reality. And that also doesn't mean everybody else has to feel the same way. And so with Garak, it's like he can tell people what he wants to manipulate them and to convey his truth and to get people to believe what he wants them to believe. But that doesn't mean I got to rock with it.
Nicole?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm with you on that, Chris, because it reminds me of that sleazy guy that you met in your early 20s that tries really hard to get you to do things you don't want to do or keeps pushing and tries to get you to sleep with them. And,
You
oh,
described
just
half
a
the
tip.
people we went to college with, Nicole.
Exactly.
We have
That's
to
what I'm
narrow it
saying.
the
Like,
fuck down.
that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of those guys that would, oh, you're a little drunk. Let's see how far I could push the boundary, you know? And it just is so like that is like their personality. And that's probably how they still are to this day. And it's like, you can do what you want to do. You can say what you want to say. You can feel, like you said, feel what you want to feel, but don't mean one, it's right, or two, I gotta fucking rock with you because that whole he is a master manipulator. He can tell you what you want to hear at that moment to get what he wants. And it's frustrating because we all know somebody who's like that or have experienced someone that's like that. And it's annoying because it's like you know what they're doing and they think they're real good at it. And some of them are. And Garrick is also smart and he is also educated and intelligent. So he uses it as a tool. And it's really like just be normal. Like, why do you have to fuck around and be all difficult like that? Just be normal. But also, that's not the Cardassians. They're not fucking normal. So I don't know. It really, it irks me about him. And I think this episode has brought it more to the forefront than any previous episodes because we haven't really had a lot of Garak. This is probably the most Garak-centric episode that I can think of. And each of these episodes is bringing forth more about each character, right? And the more I learn about Garak, it's like you love to fucking hate him. You know what I mean? It's like you're such a dick, but also like I can see what you're doing. It's frustrating. So I totally get what you're saying with that, Christopher or Chris, and I agree because it's like we all have the right to say and think and feel what we want, but it doesn't mean everyone else has to, and it doesn't mean anyone has to subscribe to your bullshit.
Yeah. And the diabolical part of it was he's on his deathbed,
Right.
still lying through his teeth so he can get personal satisfaction from a forgiveness that he doesn't deserve.
Yep.
Right? Like, how fucked are you? You're dying. You're on your deathbed. You want a final shred of peace of mind in case you tap out here and you go on this, again, another lying spree to get Bashir to say, I forgive you, so you can feel better about yourself right before you pass. Like, that's crazy to me. And another thing, right, is people, like I said, people can say what they want to say, think how they want to think, feel how they want to feel, express whatever they want to express. And I don't think anybody should ever be oppressed to the point where they can't do any of that. But the problem with me in this episode, another problem, is after he survives and he's having drinks with Bashir, he sits down and Bashir's just smiling like a fucking goofball when he figures out that this dude's been lying to him, even on his deathbed, completely played him for a fool, right? Made him look like the biggest dumbass in the world. And he's sitting there just teasing like, and especially the lies. Haha, yeah, especially the lies, dude. Fuck out of here, man. It's like people say all this stuff, but it's like there's no consequence, right? And that's the thing that gets me in the real world is people feel like they can say whatever they want to say, and they should be able to say whatever they want to say, but then they shouldn't have to face the consequences for what they say.
Well, that's the miracle of Facebook, Chris.
Yeah, keyboard warriors.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's like there was in real life, people feel that way, and it fucking just annoys me to no end. And then this episode, Bashir just plays right into that. Yeah, no consequences, dude, for all that lying and shit that you did and everything that you're like, man, there's water under the bridge. No, man, fuck that.
I think this is a good episode for Bashir because he knows that what Garak is going through is going to be rough. This detox that he's going through. He knows that he can't trust a damn word that he says. But he takes that lashing out that he's given and like the physical fight too. He takes it, he stands there, which and it had to be hurtful, the things that Garak was saying to him. He knew that it was the addiction talking, or he knew that it was just what Garak needed to get out. And he could have let him die. He could have. He absolutely could have. And Garak was asking to just let him go, right? And the Cardassians, the Obsidian Order, said he wanted them to live because it was a worse punishment for him, right? To die would have been the easy way out for Garak here. And so I think this was a powerful episode for Bashir, but also he knows that this is who Garak is. You can't trust anything that he's going to say. He's been in intelligence gathering his entire career. Like the Obsidian Order is the CIA on steroids, it seems like. And so he can't be trusted. But to see Bashir treat him with humanity, earlier we had mentioned that there was a critique of Starfleet and the Federation by Garak. This shows like the humanity and like the goodness of what they can be. And I get what everybody's saying, that Garak is an awful person, but the Cardassians are awful people, right? Like, so, and this was also just who he has always been. But I also think that he is going to be a useful tool for them in whatever is to come, because his ability to get people talking or to spin a tale I think is going to be very useful. And yeah, that's one of my predictions, Emily.
Okay. Garak will be useful. Got it.
Some of us can only hope that other people will look back on our legacy and say he was a Yule.
I can promise you, though, if somebody called me...
We say that about you, Mike, a lot.
Yes.
Don't worry.
I can promise you, though, if someone called me sanctimonious smug and said they hated me, they're getting knocked the fuck out. I don't care who it is and if they're on their deathbed or not. So good for Bashir. Yeah, he's a good for Bashir for being empathetic, because that motherfucker would have been down on the ground if that was me.
God, you should go read some of our listener comments, Nicole. God damn.
Well, and I want to put not to put too fine of a point on that either, but like, not to jump over what Chris said, like, you could point to Bashir taking care of Garak and being like, well, he's a doctor and the Hippocratic Oath and blah blah blah, but it's like, that doesn't make it any less less of a triumph for Bashir as a person being able to hold himself to the Hippocratic Oath, like, while Garak is saying all these like really hurtful personal things to him. Like, I think it's still kudos to my man Bashir that everybody on this show shits on constantly.
I don't shit on Bashir, thank you.
There was a line like, have you made any friends on this station? And in the 2 years that you had been here, and he says, well, yeah, O'Brien, but I think O'Brien would have a different opinion on that. Right?
Like, he calls me an idiot every day. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, the basis of most of my friendships, like, light bulb. So
you don't bully your coworkers. You don't actually like them. Like, I am not mean to the people that I actually don't like at work. They just get a good morning. Like, fuck off.
So,
right?
so you're saying you like us all, since you...
Yeah, all you fuckers. Like, listen, if I didn't like you, I wouldn't spend this much fucking time with you assholes. Like, whatever. Anyway, so, okay. I agree with Chris and everybody else that said it. Like, I don't rock with you if that's how you are. I don't have the brain capacity to tell a lie and then tell the truth and then tell a half truth and then tell another lie and tell a half truth. I just, like, that takes a lot of brain power to remember the original lie that you told. And, like, listen, this comes down to what I thought it was at first was an image like image management, right? Like nobody, and I don't care who you are and how honest you are, nobody wants to look like the asshole all the time. Like nobody wants to look like the person in the wrong. Nobody wants to look at like the bad person. But the difference between like my character and Garak's character is okay, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? And I'll say I'm wrong. And I might not just be like, yo, I knocked him out because he said something bad. I'd be like, man, he hit me first. So, I mean, I had to take care of it. Like, it is what it is sometimes. You don't want to be the bad guy. And that's what I saw it as first. But like, if you're still, Nicole nailed it with everybody's been through shit relationships where people are lying to you and they're not telling you the truth and they're just trying to do what they need to do to get you in bed. But like, at some point you got to grow out of that and get therapy. Like it's therapy time, Garak. Like you need to if you're on your deathbed still telling all the lies, bro, it's time to get therapy. Like go get into therapy and talk about your feelings. Like Chris said, I tell my kids, it's okay to talk about your feelings. It's okay to feel the way you feel, but that doesn't mean that it's right. And it doesn't mean that it's true. And also it doesn't mean that you won't get knocked the fuck out if you continue it. There's consequences for everything. So like Bashir, like, I guess it just comes down to Bashir's a better person than me because I just need Nicole to read her line.
What? The one I put in the chat?
Uh-huh.
Nuck if you buck to all those motherfuckers online too.
Yes.
Straight
like,
up.
Listen, there's consequences. You can say whatever you want, but don't think that I'm not going to get on my podcast, motherfuckers, and talk about your dumbass. Like, you are free to say whatever you want, little keyboard warrior, and I'm sure you're a very small man. Like, and take that for whatever you want. Like, take that for whatever. I'm gonna guess you're 5'7" and fucking mad that my dad's 6'5", and then I'm a woman with an opinion. Like, am I bad? But you're gonna get it. There's consequences to it. You are free to type away, little man, type away. But like, it doesn't mean you're right. It doesn't mean that I don't have taste. It just means you're a fucking idiot. You're welcome. Like. And there's just consequences for what you do. I guess that's welcome to my tit talk, guys. There's consequences for every action. And sometimes Chris is right. Sometimes you have to let people do what they do. And I regularly say, after somebody loses their shit, crashes out in my office, I say, do you feel better? Because now we're going to talk about what you just said. Like you don't get to just open mouth and say whatever the fuck you want with nobody telling you about yourself. That's my tit talk.
And I think too, another thing, because it does make sense, right? He's a doctor. He has a patient going through an extreme withdrawal. Sure. He's got to be empathetic. He's got to be there to support him through it, or at least be the punching bag until his patient's on the other side. He's stable. Then you can address however you want to address it, right? But what I don't think, and this is another thing that kills me in fucking real life too, just because you understand why a person does what they do, or why they say the things that they say, it doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean it's okay. And it doesn't mean that that person committing those actions or saying those things is free of accountability. Right. I can understand until the fucking cows come home. But at the end of the day, they're still right and they're still wrong. If it's on the side of wrong, accountability needs to be upheld. If it's on the side of right, then that's a different discussion. And so pertaining to the episode, Bashir did what he needed to do as a doctor. He stood in his duty, was the punching bag, was empathetic, was there, saw Garak through to the other side, despite the lying, all the craziness. I mean, he went to go see J. Edgar Hoover. God knows what he was walking into. He went above and beyond. Doctor of the Year award goes to Bashir, right? But after all that, when Garak comes to sit down, for me, that's where the accountability starts to get pressed hard on Garak, and he's going to know everything that he's going to be held accountable for. And so again, just that's the part that just had me raise my eyebrow. Like, really? Like, I didn't have a problem with Bashir before this episode. I thought he was corny, but now I'm just like, you're corny and you're a sucker. So there's that.
Sorry I said it, but it's the truth. Like, that's like, I can't stop singing. I come in the club swinging my dress. I can't stop. It's going through my head and I need somebody to sing it for me. So sorry, Blake. I'm not sure anybody's going to know who Crime Mob is. We're fine. We're moving on.
YouTube flags them automatically, though. Which, by the way, Jessi, given some of your rants on some of our online commenters, for those who are fans of The West Wing, there's a scene where CJ Craig screams at Josh Lyman about shoving a motherboard up his ass. I'm gonna find that script and I'm gonna have you record that
Yes.
script as a special clip just for us at some point. I will find that and just have you do that on one of these recordings.
Oh, the lime and lemons, the lemon
Uh-huh.
lemons.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
that episode.
I will pull the quote and have Jessi do a special reading of the West Wing script about shoving a motherboard so far up someone's ass.
If I get to yell at somebody, I'm fine.
You'll get to.
Nicole, do you have anything to say? But I want to talk about addiction real quick. Like, not, I don't want to get on a TED Talk again, but like, do you have anything to respond to what?
I was just gonna say that I think there was a lot of character building for Bashir and the fact of seeing him be a doctor and do his doctoring, and he did go above and beyond. But yeah, I think he needs to definitely press Garak a little bit more for sure. But I did really appreciate even the Tano or whatever the fucking J. Edgar Hoover guy was. He even said, "You're really brave for coming here and coming here to do this or whatever." So it was nice to kind of see him see a case from start to finish and everything in between, and just kind of have that kind of, oh, he actually is a good doctor, even though he can be a fuckboy sometimes. I think I said that earlier, but really, I liked that dynamic and like seeing him be a caregiver and like really go above and beyond for Garak, who Garak was ready to throw in the towel, but obviously as a doctor, he wasn't about to let him. So, but he did really go above and beyond to save his little bitch ass. That's all I was gonna say.
There's a difference to me between your doctor position and your regular life position. And that to me ended when they were sitting at that table and he was like, knowing he's lying. Like, you're better than me, bro. You're a lying motherfucker. Don't say another fucking word to me. If you get sick, I'll take care of you. That's fine. But like, now that I know who you are and how you are, I'm not gonna let you walk all over me. And that to me is where I see Bashir. Like, listen, at 19 years old, I got what I like to call my attitude adjustment. You all know me after this, but I got my ass ever living handed to me by some girls and had footprints on me. Like, I had a shoe print on my leg. Oh yeah, listen, handed me my ass. And I decided that day, never getting walked on again. Never, you're never gonna actually walk on me. And that to me was like, that's where I am and how I am and who I am. You're all welcome. Like, I'm not going to let anybody take advantage of me, and I'm not going to let anybody lie to me. And I'm not, and of course it happens. But when you continue to let that person do that, that to me shows me your character is a little bit weak. Like, it's a little bit weak. Like, you're okay to play your role, play your position as whatever you do in your job. But remember, you work to live. You don't live to work. Like, you work and do your job for a paycheck to go home. You're not, after that, we're done. We're not gonna keep up the bullshit. And he sat there and smiled in this dude's face. Fuck you. And your whole bucking mother buckers. Like, all of the bullshit that you said after that, we're done. Don't talk to me. Like, move on.
Yeah, but the entire series, he's been trying to figure out his character, right? Bashir has been trying to figure out who Garak is. He spends time with him because he finds him as a fascinating figure, right? I understand, that he's lying to him and it should be, he wants and deserves the truth from him. But also, I just think Bashir is trying to study Garak and trying to figure out who he is. And so he's just going to sit there and let him, if he pushes him away, then whatever he can glean from him is going to go away. And I think to Bashir that information is more valuable than what the actual truth from Garak is.
I love you, but
he
I'm gonna.
He learned who he was, though.
Right. And I'm gonna agree to disagree because, like, listen, Ed Gein is extremely interesting to me. I don't want to fucking hang out with the dude. I don't want him to wear my face and turn my fucking face into some kind of like mask that he's gonna wear to kill the next person. That's like, listen, I respect your opinion. I do, but I disagree because like we have books for a reason. There's a difference between, he called this dude his friend at the beginning. And like, I think that that's a lesson that we all learn very early. Maybe some people don't learn, is that like, not everybody is your friend, right? Like,
and that was
okay.
one of the things.
I wasn't right in the middle of a sentence. It's not a big deal. Go ahead, Christopher. Just have at it.
Sorry for cutting you off. But that was literally one of the things I was writing down was, how much do you know about the people you spend every day with?
Agreed,
right?
But there's a difference between you and one of my coworkers at work. Like, I know personal things about you. I spend time with you. I enjoy you. And I don't ever fuck off. Don't ever agree like to have this conversation again. But like, I actually enjoy your presence sometimes.
We have that
Right?
recorded.
I know. Fuck, I should have stopped while I was ahead. But like, there's a difference. There's a difference between me liking you and choosing to spend time with you and me coming across you because of the situation. Like, these people are not hanging out with each other because they choose to hang out with each other. They're hanging out with each other because it's circumstance. Like, Bajorans and Cardassians would never interact if they didn't like live on this station or be on this. So this guy said to him, I only fucking hang out with you because it's literally the only thing I have to do. Like, and that's the difference between me being forced to go to work every day and interact with people that I would never fucking talk to if I didn't work with them, or me choosing to get on this podcast every day and deal with you. So like, it just shows character. You're right. He's building his character. You're right. He's figuring out Garak's character. I believe in this is only my opinion. It doesn't mean it's right usually, but I don't think like, Bashir is he's a simp. He's like just so fucking like, I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything better to say. He's a pushover. And like, he's gonna sit there and let people walk on him for what? For the good of science? Like, fuck off. I'll read a book. Like, give me more of your crappy books to read.
There's two things that you can never take back is words spoken and deeds done, right? The words that Garak spoke and the things that he did, attacking him and all that, okay, it happened because he was going through extreme withdrawal. So again, you understand why he did it. But at the end of the day, you can't take it back, right? And what is the other thing? They say the three people that always tell the truth are kids, angry people, and drunk people, right? It's like when you're angry, the truth comes out. All those things that Garak said were the truth. That angry is exactly how he was feeling. Yeah.
Are still truths. And that's where growing up, let's talk about my trauma for a second, guys. Growing up, my mother, God bless her, she's the best person in the world, but she is meaner than fuck when she gets mad. She opens her mouth and just lets whatever she wants come out. I'm 44 years old. I'm still terrified of this woman. And she said some things to me that I wouldn't say to my worst fucking enemy. And she says she doesn't mean them, but when she's angry and she says it, it's like, okay, well, I'm starting to see what you actually think about me. And the only reason that you don't usually say that is because you birthed me. Like, I get that. But like, those words still stick out in my head randomly throughout my life. Like, I still think about the times that my mom called me a slut. Like, and listen, I would bury a body for my mother. So don't think that I don't respect and love her, but she is mean as fuck when she says things, when she's mad. And that to me tells me what she sometimes actually thinks. And like, that's what I promised myself growing up. I would never be that person. Yes, I have a sharp ass tongue, but what comes out of my mouth is never personal. No matter how mad I am, I don't talk about your little dick unless you're on the internet talking about me. Like, I'm like, and I've never actually seen it. Like, I never will, because you would never even get within 5 feet of me. But like, that's what I'm saying is like, just because he was detoxing off of his fucking space heroin doesn't mean that he didn't mean every fucking thing that he said. He hates everybody except Cardassians, and that is your character. Cool, homie. We'll just pass by all what's up to you and I'll keep it moving. I'm not going to give you the opportunity to continue to look down on me while I call you my friend. That's weird to me.
Amen.
Mike, you've been waiting kind of patiently to jump in
Mike,
here.
Nope, I took my hand down.
Well, Jessi, you started to go somewhere, and one of the questions that I was going to throw out to the group was looking at the implant as a source of pain relief, dependency, and real-world addiction issues. So I'm curious where you were going to go with that before we got derailed into Bashir being a simp and lies and...
I don't know what else to call me, the pussy. I don't know what to say. Like, my bad. Listen, not somebody I would hang out with. You're cool, bro, to like fix my sinus infection, but that's about as far as we're probably going to get, because I know I'm a walk over you. That's how that's going to go. That's why I need a strong man in my life to kind of tell me to shut the fuck up sometimes. And Bashir would never do that. Bashir would be like, oh yeah, you're so right. Everything you say is great. No, but so going to the addiction part of this, because that's where I don't remember who said it, but somebody said that's where I thought that they were going with this. I thought that this was going to be an addiction episode. They clearly did some research or had somebody in the writing group that had addicts in their life, because what he said just to me from my outward experience, because I'm, I've got my small like sugar addictions and shit like that, but like we all do things that are pleasure seeking, but when you get into like actual drugs like cocaine, heroin, meth, stuff like that, you start to see this is exactly how addiction works, right? Like he said, I used to use it a couple minutes a day, and then I realized that I was just happier without it, and then all of a sudden I couldn't live without it, and now I don't know what to do because I have to have it. This is exactly, to me, like that was the most accurate description of substance abuse and substance addiction that I've like seen in a show in a long time. Like it was real, and it was just the words cut straight to the truth. So like whether it was a lie or not, that was exactly what he described. Was you see how people get addicted, and people are like, oh, well, you made the decision, sure, but there were circumstances behind the addiction that led me to the addiction. So like nobody, I don't know many people, I'm sure they exist, but nobody, to me, people don't just wake up one day and are like, man, meth sounds like a great time. Let's just do it with all our friends all the time so that it ruins my life and my family and my whole world. And I'm out on the corner every day begging for just enough money to get the next stuff. So like to me, it really touched home accurately with the addiction aspect in the episode.
Let me ask you this, Jessi, because you were on the last podcast and we dealt with addiction a little bit in that with Dr. Franklin and the Stems.
Yep.
How would you say how this show handled the addiction aspect, granted with one episode, versus how they handled it with Franklin and Babylon 5?
Right. So I think Franklin and Babylon 5, I think that you saw it from the beginning, and they demonstrated what addiction looks like throughout several episodes, right? I think this was the accumulation, like the final product of the actual addiction. Like I think this was just the final straw where people, I think I again, if I'm wrong and people are out there and they've actually been through it, let me know I'm wrong. But I think that this is where people get to when they go to rehab, right? When they're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live this life. This is not what I was put on earth to do. I don't know how else to fix it. And some people get through that point like 6, 7, 20 times in their life before it actually sticks. I think they said less than 2%. This is a crazy number I heard the other day. Less than 2% of people on meth actually ever get clean and stay clean. So to me, that's like monumental, right? Like that's because a lot of the stuff that I deal with every day is drug fueled. Like when I started my snake milking career years and years and years ago, I was dealing with the low level people who were just in the middle of their addiction and stealing to get their drugs, and stealing, like a lot of thefts, a lot of retail thefts, a lot of like home invasions, stuff like that, just to get things. And now I don't know how to say this now I deal with a lot bigger level where it's the people leading the addiction. I don't know how to say that without telling people what I do, but like to me, these people aren't seeing the consequences of their actions even after they go to prison, because they don't really see it themselves. They're just the ones fueling it. So like getting off my track, going back to Dr. Franklin, you definitely saw the very beginning, the 2 seconds here, the minute there, the I can't sleep, like I have to do this. Whatever his reason was for it, you saw the accumulation series. And I think this was right before rehab.
Oh, I think we've had some decent discussion on this one. Unless anyone has any other topics they want to bring up, how about we get any questions and predictions from our newbies and go from there? Nicole, questions and predictions, please.
I just wonder, is there going to be any repercussions after this incident with Garak? Like, is he going to have continued problems? Is this thing going to become an ongoing thing, or is it done? That was really my only question.
Chris, how about any questions and predictions from you?
Yeah, same as Nicole. Is Garak truly over it, or is he just going to seek to fill that void with something else? Because to Jessi's points, I don't think he's healed. I don't think he's over the trauma and everything that he's been through, and the module in his brain kind of malfunctioning and all that. That was his coping mechanism. When that failed, what did he do? He went straight to quarks. He was down in the Lico. And so it's like, is he really over it? Did he really get the monkey off of his back? I also thought it was kind of not funny, but the scene where he was coming down, where he was detoxing, reminded me of the scene in Requiem for a Dream when Marlon was butt ass naked. Marlon Wayans was butt ass naked in the jail cell, sweating, shivering his ass off because he was locked up and coming off of his heroin addiction. I kind of got that parallel when he was going through it in his quarters. But that's the only question that I have. Predictions, I know Julian's just going to continue to get run over and bitched every other episode, maybe.
Christopher.
So is Garak still part of the Obsidian Order? Is the exile even real? Right? Is this part of, is he, like undercover? What role are they going to play? And just how ruthless is Garak?
And Jessi.
To answer my predictions on that question that Chris just asked, I definitely think this dude has some like serious fucking things in his past that, while Nicole had a good point too when she said that I don't think it was compassion. I think that it was convenience for himself when he was cold and hungry. And I absolutely see that as a possibility. But I think that Garak looks at his even hint of compassion as a weakness. So I too would like to see what more is in his past. My question / prediction is here's what I think. I think Bashir is going to find his balls at some point. I think they are going to drop, and I think that he is going to find them and be the person that he needs to be, because you can't live your life getting pushed around by people over and over and over unless that's just your character. So I think Bashir will find a day that he's like, finds his inner Kira and tells somebody to go fuck themselves. I'm just waiting for it.
All right, Emily, got all the questions and predictions down?
I believe so.
All right, I think that wraps up our discussion for The Wire. For those of you who heard the earlier commentary, Nicole said you don't have to follow our bullshit, but we would prefer if you would actually follow our bullshit. You can like and subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice and get notified when we come out with new episodes, special episodes, or just random bullshit from all of us. We also have our Patreon link down below. You can join that and get access to exclusive content. We've got a couple outtake reels on there, because if you think what makes it in the show is bad, you should see what we don't put in the show, and then just imagine what we won't even put in the outtakes reel, because there's also that version of the I can't even put this out in outtakes, because we have that level too. That also gets you into our Discord server, where we have all sorts of content. We've got Emily's Smut Corner, where we've been contributing conversations of a smutty nature. Mike's got a music channel, and Christopher's even got a sports channel on there. God knows why with this crowd, but it is rather lively at times. It is sometimes a toss-up between what's getting discussed more, the smut channel or the sports channel, but coincidentally, it usually all involves some form of a ball or another. So, check out our Discord, because you never know quite where it's going to go.
Balls and bears. I like it.
Yeah, balls and bears. That's pretty much what we got, and it applies to both channels on our Discord server. So go ahead and check that out. And again, like, follow, subscribe to us. If you could leave us a review on Apple or your other podcast app of choice, we will check those out. We will respond. May not be how you like us to, but we will respond and maybe even read your review here on the show. So until next time, I am Blake, and with me has been
Jessi,
Christopher,
Emily,
Mike,
Prentice,
Nicole,
And Chris.
Thank you for listening to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast by searching for Especially the Lies on your podcast app or on YouTube. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Especially the Lies is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Paramount or any other owners of the Star Trek copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respected copyright holders. They are included here for purposes of review, and no infringement is intended.
Why have you brought me here? Show yourselves. What do you want?
The Cisco has returned to us. He arrives with questions.
There are always questions.
Welcome back to our discussion with the prophets. We have kicked our newbies off the show for the rest of this, where we're going to talk about all of their questions and predictions related to The Wire. If you have not watched past The Wire and do not want to hear spoilers, we suggest you hop on back through the wormhole and join our newbies on the other side, and join us back next week where we will be discussing crossover with our special guest, Ryan. So let's go ahead and jump in with our newbies' questions and predictions. Emily, what do we got?
We actually have some stuff for once, so this should be fun. Jessi predicts Bashir will find his balls.
I would say so eventually.
Yeah.
I would say definitely the episode with him and Jake, and they're at that outpost with the Jem'Hadar and that battle.
But I feel like
there's
Jesse's...
some stuff before that, but I feel like that really highlights just his abilities.
When we find out that Bashir got replaced with a changeling and he's on the prison asteroid with the Jem'Hadar, I think you see a different Bashir there too.
Oh, for sure.
But I feel like Jessi is specifically talking about this relationship that he has with Garak and O'Brien, like that aspect of his getting.
Oh, he'll never find his balls there.
No, and I have a very different read on that whole thing, I guess.
We've also seen the whole series more than once.
True.
Yeah.
So we kind of know how things go and have better information, but yeah.
What else we got?
So Nicole and Chris want to know if there are going to be repercussions for Garak for what happened.
No.
Not really, but we will see the dynamic come back again, because when you get into that episode series where Garak joins Anabran Tain and the Romulan fleet as they go looking for the Founders to obliterate the Founders' homeworld, and I think you see a very conflicted Garak there with wanting to rejoin Tain, but also what he's forced to do to Odo. And I think he grapples a little bit with what world he wants to be in there. But then you'll also get into some of his issues when we get, like I said, I already mentioned the asteroid where they're held prisoner. And you get kind of with some of his mental issues as he's in that wall and the claustrophobia. So I think you're going to see some more aspects of Garak, even though not a direct consequence of what happened here. I think you're going to see some more parts of Garak as we go.
More repercussions of where he's been.
Yes, of the trauma he's experienced overall.
Yeah. And I will say that, I mean, I have watched this series so many times, but it wasn't until we started doing this where I'm trying to like sit and actually watch. And I had forgotten when he's doing one of his little rants to Bashir, he says he was a gull. And I had completely forgotten that. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. That actually tracks with things you find out later.
Right.
And him saying like he let the kids go and it's just because he was uncomfortable. But there are parts in this story where you can tell he's struggling with like the loyalty to Anabran Tain, but also recognizing that what Cardassia is doing and did to the Bajorans was fucking wrong. So I do question, was it really he was inconvenienced, or did he realize he was talking about the fall of Cardassia, that why are we still doing this? Like, just let him fucking go and be done.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point to continue if we're about to be like kicked out. Just stop and bail.
Well, and I feel like the overall takeaway from the newbies was that Garak is, and I feel like it would be a disservice to not talk about this for at least a second, because we'll say this, right? If the truth in his story, in his lie, is that in some way he showed compassion and got punished for it. I think that's the takeaway, right? That's the thing that he was trying to express. The details don't matter so much. But with his remark about I did it because I was just inconvenienced and I was cold and unhappy, straight up doesn't make sense in an episode where we're finding out, and the whole premise of the episode is that he has a device in his head to help him withstand torture. Okay? So, like, to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, oh, he was cold and unhappy, so he did a thing that he knew would just torpedo his entire career and get him exiled, because he isn't a dummy, but he also had an easy button that he could literally just press to not feel cold and unhappy anymore. So I
Yeah.
mean, that to me is like, no, like Garak's the end story here is like Garak's not a bad guy. He's a Cardassian, but he's probably one of the quote unquote good Cardassians, like.
And that ties into Christopher's questions of how ruthless is Garak? And he absolutely can be when he needs to be. We've seen it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We've already seen it in an episode where he took out the other Cardassian.
He'll be ruthless towards what he thinks is morally the right thing to do.
And then Christopher had other questions like, is Garak still part of the Obsidian Order?
No, not technically. So he's not part of the Obsidian Order, but because who we know Tang is, he always has a connection because Tang's his father.
Yeah, and
really
it seems to like blur it a little bit. Like he's not officially, but he used to be, and he still has his connections and he knows the things and he might still do some things with them once in a while. Like, yeah.
I'm a little surprised none of our newbies raised that question about is there a relation between Garak and
I'm not surprised because the way they played it,
mm-hmm.
initially early on, it was not even something I suspected that Tang was his father or mentor, maybe.
Mentor, yeah.
So when they dropped in the episode, we found out that Bashir was essentially kidnapped for almost a season. I was shocked that he finally said it. I suspected it when they did the invasion of the Founder's homeworld, and he was talking about Elam and this, Elam that. I suspected that he might be his father then. But in this episode, I wouldn't expect anybody to guess that Tang was indeed the father of Garak.
Yeah, well, and I think in the end it all makes sense too, right? Like Garak is in exile because his dad is one of the most powerful people in the galaxy. Otherwise, he would probably be dead for doing what he did.
Correct.
Yeah, and that was one of Christopher's questions. Is he actually in exile? And that would definitely seem to be the case with how other Cardassians respond to him. And he also asked, what role will the Obsidian Order play?
Huge role leading up to the Founders and finding them until they're wiped out. They're going to play a huge role, so definitely.
Yeah.
And then come, I think, start of season 4 when the civilian government takes over, that kind of goes away at that point.
Because that happens in, season 3, the Obsidian Order is destroyed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to make
sure. Because by season 4, the civilian government takes over, because that's the whole premise for the start of season 4 with Worf coming in and the Klingons invading Cardassia.
Yeah, what was they called? What were they called again? Dutapa?
The Dutapa Council.
Yeah, Dutapa, that's right.
All right. Anything else we want to add or talk about with this episode?
Well, only thing I did want to lift up, once they found out about Odo's people and their kind of desire for order and bringing order out of chaos, I think it'll make sense more when Odo was kind of ruminating on the efficiency of Obsidian Order, because you really don't know why he seems to be. You think it's just him, but then you learn about the Founders that they love order. They have this kind of need for this kind of efficiency, justice, and all these things come from his people. So I think in the aggregate, when I look back on that comment he made, I said in the beginning, I'd never thought about it, I never gave it a second thought. But now, as I know Odo, as I've watched the series, it's like, oh, you're displaying and showing the personality type of your people in this episode.
Yeah, and that he's also made remarks about when he worked for the Cardassians, and it wasn't great, but it was efficient. And you understood the rules more or less. And yeah, it feels really, really icky because you're like, dude, what the hell? And then when you find out where he came from and what's genetically imposed upon him, you're like, ooh, yeah. You battling against that was rough.
Do they talk a great deal about that genetically imposed part of it later on? Because my read on Odo at this point has been that it has to do with his background, with the Cardassians and coming up in the Cardassian kind of system. But it raises, what we're kind of talking about is it raises this whole question about nature versus right, and it's the kind of thing that they touched on in TNG with Alexander, and just because he's Klingon or part Klingon doesn't necessarily mean that he's the snarling, sharp-toothed way of the warrior type of kid. And Alexander had a much gentler way about him. And so did they really say that the changelings kind of had a predisposition towards order and efficiency and that kind of thing? Or
I thought if they didn't say it explicitly, it was heavily
I think
implied.
it's heavily implied.
And
Okay.
when they talk about sending out their version of infants or whatever
Mhm.
you want to call them, and they're genetically programmed to try to find their way back home. So like they
Okay.
send them out and they collect this information and then they're supposed to bring it back. And I'm assuming, I mean, not really assuming, but based on the rest of the story, they want that information because the goal is takeover.
Okay. I'll buy it at that. I guess it just kind of surprised me when I think it was Chris bristled about how Odo behaved in the episode, and I'm like, I thought it felt pretty natural to me.
Pretty natural
but
for Odo.
yeah.
Yeah. Question, I think I forgot this. Odo was the first one to return home, and that was by accident because of the wormhole to the Founders. So technically, by the end of the Cardassian War, there's still these younglings, so to speak, changelings, still floating to the reaches of the universe.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
Got it.
Yeah, they never really wrap that up anywhere, but yeah, that would be the case. All right, I think that does it for our discussion of The Wire. As mentioned, we will be back next week with our discussion of Crossover, and we'll be joined by our friend Ryan from Yum Yum Pod, who will help us with that discussion. In the meantime, if you would like to give us a like, follow, or subscribe to us on YouTube or your podcast app of choice and leave us a review, we would greatly appreciate that. Until next time, I have been Blake, and with me has been
Emily.
Mike.
Prentice.